So I'm not so sure why this has come back into the public eye recently. It's not something that's new, but it's been doing the rounds online, and I feel like I have to make a video on this because it's such an important issue, and it's something that a lot of people, or at least some people, are not taking very seriously, and I think that is a real crying shame. Now, this is all to do with Lando Norris. Now, he opened up a couple of years ago in the public eye and just basically said, look, I've been struggling with mental health sometimes. It's something that is not really talked about much in Formula 1. It's not really talked about much in motorsport. It's something that's been creeping into the discourse when it comes to football and other sports, and in particular in other areas of life too. And I think that's fantastic that we're able to speak freely about this. But unfortunately, there is, and it's an overused word, I will admit, but there is a stigma out there around mental health, and that stigma is being personified by some people online just not taking what Lando Norris took seriously. Now, I'm not going to name names here. I'm not going to call people out specifically, but I've seen a few people online just probably trying to get some reactions, trying to make some rubbish point about what they think Lando Norris should be feeling like. So let me just take an extract from what Lando Norris said a couple of years ago, because I think that is what people are maybe rediscovering, maybe re-reacting to, sort of, because I can't find anything that Lando Norris has said recently when it comes to this. But he said this a couple of years ago. He said, "I was feeling like I don't know what's next. If this goes wrong, if I don't go out in the next session and perform, what's going to happen? So just all of that, and then just feeling depressed a lot of the time, that if I have a bad weekend, I just think to myself that I'm not good enough," and things like that. Now this is not actually that dissimilar to what Sir Lewis Hamilton has said, the most successful driver in the sports history, undoubtedly one of the greats, in a lot of people's eyes, the greatest ever to do it. Now, he came out after the British Grand Prix and said that he had personal doubts, that he was struggling with his mental health, that things were, not very good with him because he'd been so long since he last won a race. He was kind of questioning his place in the sport at that point. So no offense to Lando Norris, but he's no Lewis Hamilton, right? He's not anywhere near that kind of success. He still has to prove himself in some people's eyes. He's never won a world championship. He's only just won a race. But if the guy that's won 7 world championships, over 100 races, more than anybody else in the history of the sport, is doubting himself, saying, I don't know if I can do this anymore, then what are the other guys thinking? What are the other guys feeling? The people like the Guan Yu Zhous, something that's not never talked about is the Lance Strolls. What's he feeling right now? All the pressure that's on him. And of course, one of the biggest arguments that these people come and say is, oh, they're rich, they have no problems, they're multi-millionaires, they're living our dream, you're living my dream, how can you be depressed? Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. And at the end of the day, the pressures and the commitment that these guys have to put in to be able to be a Formula 1 driver. It's not just turning up at the weekend and going into the car, getting strapped in and winning. It is not. Even for the guys that are dominating the sport, even the Verstappens, even the Schumachers back in the day, even the Hamiltons, right? They work incredibly hard. Every weekend, they are in the gym, they are training, they are working out. And some people might say, oh, well, what about all their live streams they're doing with their video games? What about Lando Norris and Max Verstappen with their video games they're playing at night? They're just messing around. Even that is kind of training in a sense. It's not. If they're playing racing simulators, it's not that different to what they're doing when they're training in the actual center, with the full testing rig and everything like that. There are parallels to be drawn there. It is their life. They have to dedicate everything to it. And these are the guys that make it. Think about the 99% of racing drivers that never make it to Formula 1, the 98% of racing drivers that never make it to an F1 race seat. You think about those guys, they have to dedicate their entire life all the way from school, because they start in karting in school. They have to, bunk off of school effectively. They have to have their education as actually a secondary thing, when most parents are absolutely pushing for it to be number one. But when you're going to be a racing driver, you have to sacrifice that. All the childhood relationship, all the teenage parties, all stuff like that. You can't do that. You can't do that. And especially in an age of social media and everything like that, people are going to film it, people are going to take pictures, questions are going to be asked. The media, particularly in the UK, is ruthless when it comes to that. You cannot make a mistake, otherwise you're done for. Simple as that. You're blacklisted, you're cancelled. And it's I can't imagine the pressure these guys are under. So that's why Lando Norris is feeling depressed sometimes. He's human. He might be a multi-million-pound racing driver. He might be feeling pretty good right now. But he's going to have dark times. There have been questions asked of him throughout his career, asking whether he's good enough for Formula 1, whether he's good enough for McLaren. Is he good enough to win a race? He's proven he's good enough to win a race because he's done it now. But now people are asking, is he good enough to be a world champion? And even if he wins a world championship, people are going to say, but is he good enough to win multiple world champions? The pressure never stops. And that's why these guys are speaking. That's why Norris is speaking out about it. That's why Hamilton's speaking out about it too. And there will be more. These more drivers in Formula 1 will feel like this because it is such a pressured environment. Yes, it is a dream of so many people, so many average Joes and Johns and Georges out there to be Formula 1 drivers, to work in Formula 1. But when you get there, it's never going to be like you imagine it's going to be. It's going to be such a pressured environment and so tough to stay there. And that goes for the mechanics, for the strategists, for the drivers, for the media people, for everybody. That's what it is. So for these people to come out and say that Lando Norris should not feel depressed, should not feel bad because of the position he's in, that is so disrespectful. It is unbelievable. You cannot tell people how they should be feeling. You shouldn't be trying to control people's feelings. Some people, again, my last point, because I've got overrun on this, my last point with this is that some people have been saying, oh, what about their social media? They're putting, videos and photos of them, kicking it in the Caribbean and stuff like that, Aren't they happy? And it's like, well, yeah, maybe in that moment, but social media is a snapshot that people want to show off in their lives. It is not a complete picture. And as soon as you realize that, then things become more obvious. That is not the way that you should be thinking, that their lives are always sipping cocktails on the beach. No, it's just not like that. Even for these guys, especially for these guys, they have to work so hard and travel so far. So that's my rant over. I could go on about this for hours, but that's my kind of thoughts on it. I think it is farcical and so disrespectful that anybody should be, deriding Norris, taking the mick out of Norris for speaking out about his feelings. He should be applauded for this. He should be, and at the time he was, I'm sure. But now some people are picking these old quotes up and saying, oh, he's such a whiny baby. No, he's a human being and he's speaking his mind. People should be able to speak their minds. That's what freedom of speech, that's what a free society, a modern society should be. But clearly not everybody agrees with that. What do you guys think? Who do you agree with? Does Lando Norris deserve to be applauded for speaking out about his mental health? I think he should be. But let us know your thoughts on this in the comments below. And of course, keep it subscribed to the F1Chronicle.com to see much more content on Formula 1 just like this.